acting like they're back on Twitter because Elon Musk purchased Twitter. Only problem with that, as we've covered on the show, Elon hasn't bought Twitter yet. It's going to be a while before he actually takes control of the company, but both of them popped back up on Twitter, and they're claiming that is why. What's the real story? Daily Beast covered it. What really happened is both of them had tweets that were taken down for violating policy. Both of them said that they would not take those tweets down, that they would never apologize for them. Well, what happened was they went in and very quietly deleted the offensive tweets that Twitter had a problem with, and then declared that it was Elon Musk is why they came back. They think you're stupid. People who think you're stupid and act like you're stupid and treat you like you're stupid think you're stupid. The best way to deal with them, don't let them treat you like you're stupid. I don't understand people who want to fanboy folks like this, but there's apparently a lot of folks that do. They want to run a fast one. They want to pretend like they're these bulwarks that they were never going to apologize and never back down. They apologize and they back down. And now they're trying to run game pretending like Elon Musk got them back on Twitter. Folks, just be smarter than that. Discernment is the most important thing when dealing with media in our age. And both of these folks are just trying to run a fast one on you. Please don't fall for it. More Hertel right after
this. Only one candidate for clerk of court has the experience needed to keep our courts running efficiently and criminals off our streets. That candidate is conservative Republican Catherine Adams. Adams has a 20-year record of accomplishments, including serving as deputy director of the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, where she was responsible for the oversight of the human resources and financial management for all 6,200 employees of the state court system and personally managed hundreds of employees and tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. She's also been awarded the state's highest civilian award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for her public service. That's why Clerk of Court Jim McCallum says Catherine Adams is the one person most qualified to be our next Clerk of Court. Early voting begins on April 28th, and the primary election is on May 17th. So remember to vote for experience, vote for leadership, vote for qualifications, and vote for proven conservative Republican Catherine Adams for Brunswick Clerk of Court.
Paid for by the Committee to elect Catherine Adams Clerk of Court.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly overregulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune in to Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to Hertel. You know we always end on a good note. This one comes from somebody who's actually been on the program before, our buddy Jim Swift. His publication, The Bulwark. We have been covering World Central Kitchen. That's Jose Andreas's charity and the work they're doing in Ukraine. They pop up anywhere there's trouble in the world. The Bulwark, our friend Jim Swift and those folks over there have raised now $120,000 in a donation campaign for them. Good on them. Wanted to mention that. I also use his newsletter for content sometimes, and we look forward to having him back on the program soon. You can go back and listen to when he joined us, talk about interns, congressional interns, and how that whole system works. That'll do it for Hertel today. A little different program, but important topics. A lot at stake today. Not just sizzle. We get to the stuff that matters. Hope you all have a great weekend. Don't forget, twice on Sunday, the recap show of all the great interviews will be out. And until then, we'll see you on Monday with brand new episodes of Hertel. So until then, wherever you and yours are, across the street or around the world, we hope you're well. We hope you're well fed. And we'll see you again soon on Hertel. All the music on Hertel is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, WFBT, Carolina Beach.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music, with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A joint operation involving several law enforcement agencies led to the arrest of more than 24 people accused of stealing catalytic converters. Officers from New Hanover, Pender, and the Onslow counties and the FBI took part in the sting. Since the beginning of the year, Onslow County has seen a 107% increase in larcenies. Sheriffs from the three counties say they began working together after discovering they were searching for the same person, Emerson Jordan, who is believed to be the operation's ringleader. Deputies say they found almost 700 stolen catalytic converters. Now to an update on the Bladen County shooting this week that sent schools into lockdown. The shooting happened on Moultrie Lane in Elizabethtown around 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. Investigators now say later that evening a 15-year-old turned himself in and has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. The investigation is ongoing and additional charges are expected. Anyone with information about that shooting should call the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Wilmington police now believe a fire at a Family Dollar store last week may have been intentionally set. The Family Dollar on Wooster between 16th and 17th Streets caught fire on April 19th, and first responders on the scene said the flames quickly spread throughout the store. No one was hurt. Now investigators have reason to believe this may be a case of arson. And a brand new airline is coming to Wilmington International Airport, bringing more affordable flights from a relatively new company. ILM announcing Avelo Airlines will now service Wilmington. Fares start at $29, and the highest fare is $49. Destinations to New Haven, Connecticut, Baltimore, D.C., and Orlando will fly out of ILM 3 days a week beginning June 30th. Avelo is already taking reservations. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 AccuWeather forecast. We're going to have a nice end to the week for your Friday, but increasing clouds as the day goes on for a partly cloudy afternoon with highs in the lower to middle 70s. And then later on tonight, partly cloudy skies continuing, but comfortable lows in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees and showers increasing into Saturday and Sunday. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com. When you purchase a Golden Technology lift and sleep chair from US Med Express at 1733 Dawson Street, you get the benefit of a lift assist chair, a recliner, a memory button chair, a zero-gravity chair, a Trendelenburg device, and a sleep chair, all in one of the most comfortable pieces of furniture you have ever experienced. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible, and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
Joining Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Getting so caught up in the news, I didn't even hear my own alarm. That's right, it's time for me to rise and shine, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, and rightfully so. You would think that it's just all gone to, in a handbasket, but we still got wings, ladies and gentlemen. We got a shot at this. Would you believe it? And it's Friday, so, you can drink away your problems over the weekend. A lot of people tend to do that. Enjoy your performances. Enjoy the weekend. This is the end of the week. And, interestingly, I think the universe is trying to tell me something by sending me experiences and news stories which seem to kind of combined. And I should start this by saying, yes, we're going to talk about an opinion on guns. Now, before y'all get mad and get red and start saying things about the hippie over here, I have been well trained in weapons, military weapons, the M1, the 16, the carbine, the 45s, the automatics. I can disassemble them. I can fire them. I know how to operate them safely. That sort of thing. I've even had the opportunity to shoot a Browning 50 cal. That's an amazing weapon. However, I think we have a slight problem, for lack of a better term, in trying to come up with a happy medium between the ability to own a gun, which is one of our freedoms, and the understanding of the responsibility for that. So it's been said that, America's democratic process is fantastic because everybody gets to vote, and it's flawed because anybody gets to vote. And that's sort of true with a handgun, as we're discovering in the slew of cases where the most irresponsible children were allowed access, given access, granted access to firearms, which they take to school, they take to events. They've done all kinds of heinous things, including right here in North Carolina, in Hanover County. Folks, having a gun is fine. I'm comfortable with guns, whether it's a handgun or a rifle. I don't own any, because I don't think I need them. A lot of people think I'm out of my mind for this, but I'm going to take y'all back to what my instructor, martial arts instructor when I was in college, had said. If you're paying attention to your surroundings and what's going on around you, you can avoid anything that might lead to an altercation, fight, knives, guns, chains, bats, whatever. If you're going to argue about the size of a mosquito, for example, make sure your buddy is unarmed. There are a lot of ways to avoid the situation. And in my nearly 60 years on this planet, not once have I felt I needed a gun. Now, part of my argument as to not everybody should be allowed to have a gun, there's this psychopathy for those who don't understand how the mental brain power works. Children tend to stay children if they are treated like children. In that, I'm going to refer to an article by Jordan Gartner from WABI-TV. I have no idea where this is. The headline reads, half of U.S. parents financially support their adult children, survey finds. We all know that bills and other expenses can add up, especially since the start of the pandemic, and more young adults seem to be turning to their parents For some extra assistance, a recent survey found that 50% of parents with a child 18 or older provide some sort of money to help them financially, and even up to 73% when their adult child is more than 30 years away from retirement. Researchers say they surveyed about 1,000 adults who had at least one child 18 or older. On average, parents who do support their adult children financially were found to be spending over $1,000 a month. Costs like food, health insurance, rent, and cell phone bills were some of the most common, according to the survey. Parents of Gen Z adult children were also helping with tuition and other school fees, which were the most expensive among the categories at $631 per month on average. Rent or mortgage payments were the second most expensive contribution at $467 a month on average, according to the survey. Researchers shared some other key findings from their survey. Half of the parents with an adult child provide them with at least some financial support. 26% of these parents say they've had to provide more support since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. 60 also discovered 62% of adult children living with their parents don't contribute at all to the household expenses. On average, parents who financially support their adult children give them $1,000 per month for expenses like food, health insurance, rent, cell phone, tuitions, and even travel. Parents who are still working and supporting their adult children spend 23% more on their children's expenses, $605 a month, than they do to their own retirement or savings at less than $500 a month. If their adult children need financial help, 1 in 4 parents say they would pull money from their retirement accounts, and 22% said they'd delay their retirement in order to provide support. This is called failure in parenting. If you don't like that statement, please give me a call, type something in on the text there, send us an email, because this is truth. These are now, and I recently had an experience with a nearly 40-year-old child who is, he's a gun toter, and he has gotten in trouble for brandishing the weapon. There's also a history of other violence, so there's obviously, and he's being supported as a child well into his adultness. Not had to struggle. Not had to pay. He makes some money and he does stuff. And I'm betting that common to this style, as witnessed by over 1,000 people that were, or how many were in the survey? About 1,000 adults who had at least one child 18 or older. And these numbers are freaky. That's $1,000 that these kids don't have to worry about. And that $1,000 they can use to buy a gun. So here is a kid who is so irresponsible in his, 30s and 40s that he's incapable of doing his own laundry, cooking his own food. And yet he's allowed to have a gun in case he gets angry and needs to point it at somebody to make, to feel better, bigger, better. What? If you really... I get it. If you're, rolling in a Bugatti Veyron in the middle of the ghetto, yeah, you might need a gun to protect yourself. But most people I know that actually have the kind of money that people would want to get their hands on are actually rather conservative in everything that they, But these are also adults. These are people who have paid their own bills. These are people who, when they go hunting, they take the appropriate guns with them. You don't need a Dirty Harry special or a Saturday Night special to hunt pheasant. All right? And I get it. If you're target practicing with the largest weapon you can get your hands on, that's fine. That's fine. Most of these people have a stable, balanced mentality and are able to be responsible for themselves, because I think this is the key. There is no accountability for responsibility prior to the purchase and ownership of a handgun. And I think that's what we're discovering, certainly with these kids in the school system that are still in school and these adult children who don't know right from wrong. They never learned from their school. Their parents never taught them how to overcome difficulties. Instead, they just keep handing them little magic pills of money. Oh, don't worry, we got your rent. Oh, don't worry, we'll buy your car. I admit, sometime in my 20s, I was like, nah, that's all right. I'll take this struggle. I would rather fail on my own than succeed on somebody else's dime. That's me personally. Have my parents continued to send me birthday gifts of, sizable bits? Yeah. Did they pay my rent? No. Did they pay my car insurance? No. Do they pay for my Mountain Dew, my cigarettes, or my medicine? No. I don't want them to. Their responsibility was to teach me how to be an adult, how to be a standalone human being. My mom and my dad never actually owned a gun. My stepfather and stepbrothers did. My military school training took me straight into some serious hardware. Back in the 80s, you could do that with parental permission. I learned about Claymore mines. I learned about M1s. I learned about all the nifty stuff. Right? Some of it was, deserviced or, made inert. But we still had to learn how to disassemble, how to clean, how to reassemble, how to aim, how to fire. And, of course, all of the nifty gun safety rules, like don't point it at other people unless you intend to use it, in which case you should already be under duress at that point. Not just some little toddler all mad about something because the girl didn't believe in what you said or didn't want to whatever, and you pull out your gun. You're just pulling out your gun because you need to feel strong and bad. I mean, I get it. Sometimes we feel powerless. Falling down was a good example of how not to respond. The guy shot up a burger deal just because he's trying to make a point that the burger he served is not the burger that he was shown on the billboard. This is the type of mentality that we are allowing these children to continue to develop into their 30s and 40s. So being an adult in America should have a known set of responsibilities. And some of those responsibilities should come from the parents. However, the parents are 99% of the problem in the first place. They're still feeding pablum to their 40-year-old children. Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. Here's another $1,000 to go to the hospital. No. After 18, right, you can help them with the school to get them going or whatever. I get that. But to continually pay their bills and subsidize their entire lifestyle so the kid can actually live without any responsibilities whatsoever. And then he's got a gun. That doesn't make any sense to me. If these kids can prove some sense of responsibility in their own lives and within society at large, right, then I could see them, responsibly owning a gun. But if you can't even handle your own day-to-day basics, if you can't handle your own bills, if you can't handle the frustrations of life without pulling your piece, then, yeah, your parents failed you. If you are unable to, live within your means to within your lifestyle using the skills and knowledge that you have developed to this point, and you decide not to because mommy and daddy are paying for your car, your food, your housing, your recreation, and in some cases, their travel, you have failed your child. Now, I think it was last week we had, it was either this week, last week, a couple weeks ago, on the All Things Brunswick program, we had Jonathan Uzgatiki on the program, and he had made a statement about sex education. While you may have your own issue with that, his statement was, I'm not going to teach it to the kids, I'm going to teach it to the parents. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to have more conversations, or serious conversations, with the parents. Hold them accountable more and more for their children's behavior. Now, under the age of 18, in theory, that's a whole family court thing. I get that. But if the child is 37 years old and still being financially supported by the parents, then yes, the parents need to be educated. You are not producing a productive member of society. You are creating a problem that now owns a handgun. Now, in a lot of cases, and I'll use the ones that I know as examples, these folks are going to be more likely to be involved in drug and alcohol-related activities. Why else would any normal person who works a crap-ass job making, $100, $150 in a night, why would they need to be carrying a handgun? Oh, because of all the drugs. Because of all the drunk people. Because of all the high and drunk people. This is why I stopped doing so many of the nightclub gigs before I left Louisville. It's like, no, I'm not going in that club. Those people have guns and they're drunk. I'm not going to do it. I've had a gun pointed at my face within inches of my forehead. And I just looked at the guy. It's like, look, that's your choice. There's nothing I can do about this now. If you want to be if that's who you are, and shooting me is worth spending the rest of your life in prison, have at it. But I can't change your mind. You're already there. You're already playing with your little handgun there because you can't offer discourse. You cannot use your words, as was said in the interview earlier this morning. So, yeah, I think we got a big problem developing here, and I think a lot of parents need to be chastised, embarrassed, shamed, and, exposed for being the little punks they are and generating little useless 40-year-old kids. Can't even cook for themselves, can't do their own damn laundry, can't pay their own bills. Right? And what about the other adults who can't pay their bills? Oh, wait, they're standing on the corner of 3rd and Market panhandling for your change. Actually, this poor bastard was on 16th and Dawson, I think it was. And he's looking at me like, give me money. Hell to the no. You can call your mommy. You can sell your handgun. There's a number of things you can do, but if you're standing on a street corner looking at me, yeah, all you get is a bird. A wingless bird. I ain't got time for that. If you're 40 years old and you have no marketable skills whatsoever, your parents have failed you in ways that are just embarrassing. And if on top of that you have an anger and attitude issue and you're carrying a gun, your parents have created a societal bomb. Because this person obviously has no personal responsibility, no personal accountability, to the point that the parents are like, yeah, don't worry about it. We got your bills. We'll pay your bills. And that way you can go play with your drugs and your guns and your friends over there. That's fine. Or is it? Just think about it. This guy has a gun in traffic. These kids are driving around with their gun right next to him, or in the glove box, or under the seat. But it's very, very close to him because they're always so scared. I gotta have a gun. I gotta protect myself. Why? That's my question. What is it about your life that is so tempting, that's so unavoidable, that people are just coming at you in groves? I mean, I have not made a lot of friends on the radio program, I tell you that much. There's a famous basketball guy, apparently, who doesn't like me very much, and that's fine. But I do not fear this guy who is an adult and pays his own bills and actually repaid his mom. He's not toting a gun, and I'm not afraid of him coming after me with one if he did. Because I trust him as an adult. His parents raised him well, and he is able to run his own professional life. But at 35 years old, and you're going to be mad about something, and we already know that there's a history of bringing the gun out. Oh, I wasn't going to shoot anybody. It wasn't even loaded. Really? That made the difference? The fact that this kid was unable to express himself without the use of a handgun. That's what the parents are teaching these kids now. On top of the fact that you don't have to be financially responsible, we'll take care of that. So basically, as a friend of mine had said before, we are not pro-life, we are pro-birth. And as long as that 40-year-old is still a baby for the parents, then that child will never have responsibility or a sense of personal identity. Because their entire identity is not based on the pride of building themselves to where they are. It's actually an embarrassment that they were subsidized monthly, not just, hey, here's your birthday, go get yourself something nice. No, this is paying your bills on a monthly basis, which is the basis of being financially responsible as an adult in the Americas. If you can't do that, head to the bridge, you sleep underneath it. Don't be panhandling in the streets. Nobody coming to Wilmington, whether they live here, work here, or are visiting here, want to see that crap. I don't know if the mayor or any of the city council has a plan for that. I know in some places they make that stuff illegal, and they actually put people into programs, work programs, drug rehabilitation programs. Look, they pull you over, they put you in a car, they talk to you with a social worker, and they say, look, you got two choices. You can go to jail, or you can go to this mental joint where they get you off the drugs, and they teach you a marketable skill like maybe how to wash dishes at a restaurant, and they sort of break your pride because you're already, living on the streets. The guy was even carrying around, I live in a tent. That's not my fault. How did that become my problem? And what about all of this makes you think that I should be paying for your responsibilities? Did your parents not teach you about that? Now, granted, my parents weren't entirely strong on that topic. Yeah, my parents weren't entirely encouraging in any way, shape, or form other than, I don't care if you're a garbage collector as long as you're happy. What kind of crap is that? At some point around 22, 23, my dad laid it out. He's like, that's you. Where you want to live, that's your responsibility and your decision. If you want to live in a trailer park with a bunch of methed up failures, that's your choice. If that's all you can achieve, that's on you. He wasn't paying for it. He did help me get started. He paid for 3 months at the YMCA in downtown Louisville. That's how I figured it out. Oh yeah, it's been a rough ride. I guarantee you that 20 to 30 section was pretty rough. But there wasn't a lot of financial support from my families, and there was a reason for that. I figured it out. I do get gifts from my family once or twice a year, and it's kind of nice. I appreciate it. But they're not paying my day-to-day bills. They're not putting gas in my car. They're not making my car payment. They're not paying for my house or my rent or making my mortgage payment for me. They're not paying my insurance for my car, my health, my feet, my eyes. No. And they sure as hell didn't pay for my gun. Oh, wait, I don't have a gun. I don't need a gun. What do I need a gun for? What purpose? I'm not at war. I don't rob people. I have the ability to use the English language to communicate effectively with other human beings that speak the same language. And I even added a couple of languages, not very, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but at least enough to get a conversation started and not need a gun. One of the biggest freedoms we have that nobody seems to understand. I got a gun, I can make a difference. I have the power to say no. I have the power to say I am not interested in your crap. And if your response is to pull out a gun, I'm sorry, that's like a toddler's temper tantrum, but with gunpowder. And I'm not going to play with it. You can point your gun, you can shoot me with your gun. Not going to change it. It's still on you. In fact, I would even offer that somebody whose parents are paying for their stuff, whether they're living at home or in a subsidized housing arrangement, and they have a gun, you've just created a bomb. That at some point, somebody's going to tell this toddler no, and he's going to get mad, and he's going to pull out his gun. Because you've not taught this child any sense of responsibility or self-accountability. At some point, everybody should ask themselves, but this doesn't happen with the kids that are being luxuriously paid for, funded. Underwritten, I think, is the term. They don't have that sense of pride. They got attitude. I'll give you that. They got attitude for days. But are they doing anything contributing? Are they able to do anything helpful? I don't know, but I'm glad I'm not one of them. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, more from the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Yes, you can bring your guns, but I prefer you just leave them in the car. You're not going to need them, all right? We got targets out back. Have fun. See you in a bit.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A joint operation involving several law enforcement agencies led to the arrest of more than 24 people accused of stealing catalytic converters. Officers from New Hanover, Pender, and the Onslow counties and the FBI took part in the sting. Since the beginning of the year, Onslow County has seen a 107% increase in larcenies. Sheriffs from the three counties say they began working together after discovering they were searching for the same person, Emerson Jordan, who is believed to be the operation's ringleader. Deputies say they found almost 700 stolen catalytic converters. Now to an update on the Bladen County shooting this week that sent schools into lockdown. The shooting happened on Moultrie Lane in Elizabethtown around 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. Investigators now say later that evening a 15-year-old turned himself in and has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. The investigation is ongoing and additional charges are expected. Anyone with information about that shooting should call the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Wilmington police now believe a fire at a Family Dollar store last week may have been intentionally set. The Family Dollar on Wooster between 16th and 17th Streets caught fire on April 19th, and first responders on the scene said the flames quickly spread throughout the store. No one was hurt. Now investigators have reason to believe this may be a case of arson. And a brand new airline is coming to Wilmington International Airport, bringing more affordable flights from a relatively new company. ILM announcing Avelo Airlines will now service Wilmington. Fares start at $29, and the highest fare is $49. Destinations to New Haven, Connecticut, Baltimore, D.C., and Orlando will fly out of ILM 3 days a week beginning June 30th. Avelo is already taking reservations. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 accurate weather forecast. We're going to have a nice end to the week for your Friday, but increasing clouds as the day goes on for a partly cloudy afternoon with highs in the lower to middle 70s. And then later on tonight, partly cloudy skies continuing, but comfortable lows in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees and showers increasing into Saturday and Sunday. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Get all your sports action with Tanner Barth on WWAY.
Let's get things started with our full court press matchup of the week.
From the full court press to the fifth quarter and everything in between.
And they say if some is good, more is better this time.
We've got your sports world covered all around the Cape Fear.
Check out the save from the captain. Full extension.
This is the place for your sports coverage. WWAY.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Listen to Tom Goolsbee on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge right here in a world gone mad on the Big Talker Network. I forgot to do this earlier. Please visit the BigTalker.live website. On there is a link to the email, which I know works. We got an email yesterday. So please, if you would, send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, or compliments you may have. Check out our schedule. We are updating it and revising it constantly. Should be links there to the Big Talker app for your Android or iOS devices, which gives you instant access at your fingertips for any and all of the Big Talker content. Whether it's the Heard Tell radio program by Andrew Donaldson from theordinary-times.com, or Consumer Choice Radio by David Clement and Yael Osowski from the Consumer Choice Center. Or maybe it's Guns, Politics, and Freedom by Paul Vallone, part of the Grassroots North Carolina organization. Because think about it, every one of these shows, All Things Brunswick is part of the Brunswick County GOP. So these shows are not necessarily personal, egotistical whatevers. These are actually issues and organizations that are trying to keep the conversation going. And that's sort of what the Big Talker wants to do now. Get away from the yelling idiots that we had previously and get more into the conversations that lead to solutions. In fact, I'm going to tease this coming up. Next week, we have Dr. Dalton from the Eden Project coming on. I'm talking about the new developments in the 3D printing that they're using to help get these tiny homes built for the homeless folk and give them an opportunity to get started. Now, I will tie these two together. It is true, and I will say that this is at least, some correlation between the lack of accountability and personal responsibility with these people ending up homeless. I'm living in a tent. To give them some sense of stability so that they can at least, have somewhere to put their clothes so they're not rolling up to a job interview with a shopping cart with all their crap in it. And it's sort of a re-education for these folks, right? So living in a tiny home, they learn about things like, a community and neighbors and how to not be a jerk and how to keep their house from, not being a complete trash like the passenger section of my car. And that's because I find so much trash when I'm running around, and it's like, well, I'd rather throw this broken piece of 2x4 that damn near punctured somebody's tire. Let me just throw that here, and when I get home, I've got a trash can, I'll throw it in there. Or these masks, right? I mean, there's so many children with wallets and shoes and mortgages. Here's another one. I mean, again, we were talking about toddler temper tantrums because some, kid, jerk, weed, dude at, 35, 37, pulling out a gun because he's mad about something and he just can't take it anymore. I'm just so mad I can't take it anymore. I'm going to pull out my gun. Coleman Bentley is relating to a story coming out of Florida. Yeah, like Florida man should scare us. 74-year-old toddler, Florida man, shoots man in the ankle, beats him with golf club for walking dog on Delray Beach golf course. So if your parents have failed you by the age 30, When you're in your 70s, here you are acting out again with a gun. Because 74-year-old toddler boy here obviously didn't get hugged enough as a child. I don't know. But when it comes to the great state of Florida, nothing surprises us anymore. Gators could fly, the Everglades could freeze, and Disney could be cut off from the political teat. Okay, that last one actually happened. And we would hardly bat an eye. So great is its capacity for chaos. So long has it reveled in it, and yet we can't be helped, but we can't help be shocked by this story at a Delray Beach where 74-year-old Robert Levine is under arrest for attempted first-degree murder for shooting 64-year-old Herbert Merritt in the ankle after he found Merritt walking his dog along the 15th hole of Kings Point Golf Club just before 7 p.m. Here's how it went down according to Merritt. Merritt told deputies he was walking his dog on the grass next to the golf course when Levin rode up in his golf cart and began causing a verbal altercation with him due to having his dog on the golf course. He then began shooting at him while Merritt was running away. Levine chased Merritt around a tree while continuing to shoot. Merritt said he shot about 5 rounds at him. According to the report and witnesses, he felt that Levine was trying to kill him. According to witnesses who called the police as the altercation unfolded, the semi-automatic handgun found in Levin's front left pocket a short while later wasn't enough. Witnesses told deputies they saw Levine kick Merritt in the head, go back to his cart and get a club, and begin beating Merritt with the club while holding the gun in his left hand. Deputies say they found shell casings on the ground and 2 golf clubs with what appeared to be blood on them. Thankfully, Merritt survived the ordeal and was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but clearly, this is no laughing matter. You're not supposed to be walking your dog on an active golf course, but this is a 64-year-old man we're talking about. There were only a few minutes of playable sunlight left. A normal human would let it slide and maybe, and we stress maybe, send an email to the club to keep an eye out for it. Levine instead pulled out a gun and started blasting. In a world where there's seemingly a Florida man inside each and every one of us trying to get out, this is proof and perhaps solace that there's no substitute for the original. We have our own little toddlers running around with handguns right here in North Carolina. And I think the concept of Florida man may have a new defining facet to it. If you think about it, Florida man is basically a failed parent, or the result of a failed parent. Failed parenting. Because obviously Mr. 74-year-old Levine was never taught how to appropriately communicate. That he had to make his statement with a gun. He pulled it out and just started blasting this guy, chased him down and shot at him. And then when he was down, he took 2 golf clubs, because it looks like he had to go get another one after the first one probably broke, and beat this 64-year-old. These are 2 retired people acting like little 5-year-olds in a playground, arguing over a toy. For Christ's sake. Toddlers and handguns. The age does not matter. What you have is a toddler with a temper tantrum with a gun. It's not the gun's fault. Guns should be free. I mean, not free like you don't have to pay for them, because the manufacturing and the amount of detail and precision that goes into creating these weapons is certainly worth, financial compensation. I mean, that's kind of how the market works. Right? That's why some people are Glock guys and some people are Beretta guys and some people are Winchester, whatever. It's just like Ford, Chevy, and Audi or whatever. Whatever it is you want to do with it. If you're hunting grizzlies, then probably a Winchester. If you're hunting dog walkers, I'm guessing a Glock. I don't know. I mean, how do you choose these things? This is not taught in schools. But obviously this guy, 74-year-old Robert Levine, is thinking that, hey, I have a gun. I'm allowed to use it. Wait. Amazing that there are some restrictions on that. Much like there are restrictions on driving a car, and we have people getting really pissed off about that. What do you mean I can't do 75 in a school zone? I didn't know it was illegal. So without accountability and without personal responsibility, we're running into some, serious issues. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to turn into Elon Musk magically. That's just not going to happen. I'm just hoping that people can pay for their own stuff and not be standing on a street corner. And I'd like to go to the public library without running a gauntlet of guys standing there. You got $1? You got a cigarette? I need breakfast. And I don't think that adding to that irresponsibility by delivering the food in styrofoam containers that are going to end up all over the street is the first line of defense in addressing these issues. I think Dr. Dalton has a good plan going. It's a full program that it's not just a tiny house for them to live in. You can do that with a tent. If you want to be an irresponsible jerk, that's fine. You can pitch your tent in the middle of Brackwater nowhere. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Don't ask me for crap. That's your choice. You did that. Now, if you don't want to be an embarrassment to yourself and to our city, then maybe Dr. Dalton might be able to help you out. Because there you get housing and you get education on how to not be a horrible human being. You learn things like accountability and responsibility and community. Things obviously not taught to you at home. And in the toddlers that I'm pointing out, they never needed to. They don't need to interact and reconcile with other people because their stuff's already paid. Mommy's going to pay their rent. It doesn't matter if they lose a job or don't even have a job. So this type of irresponsible parenting is going to create toddlers with temper tantrums well into their octogenarian years. So 74 Robert Levine is probably going to go to prison. And he's 74 years old. Think about it. Like, how old was our last president? I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. No, you can't. Being an irresponsible toddler will eventually catch up with you. You will be held to account for your actions. Robert Levine, down in Florida, Delray, Florida, is going to find that out pretty quick. Everything that he was mad about is now gone. He's not going to be walking the Delray Kings Point Golf Club course anytime soon. And he's probably not ever going to be driving a golf cart again and wearing the fancy little shoes. And if he has a house on that golf course, it's probably gone. He'll never see the inside of that again. But this is where education comes in. That every action, you should learn this as a child, as a toddler in the playground of the school. Every action that you have against another person, you're held accountable for. And that should be a life lesson taught at an early age so that you can assimilate how those interactions go together. So that when you're older and 74 years old, you're not shooting some poor bastard for an evening stroll with his puppy. A little too close to the 15th green. Now, if the dog had pulled an Amber Heard right there on the putting green of the 15th hole, I could see some yelling involved. I still don't think it's quite as far as a handgun. I mean, at the worst, you call the immigrant guy, right? Because chances are the golf cart course is not going to hire high-dollar American people to clean the golf course. They're going to have immigrants and people we don't care about, usually with darker skin, to go out there and pick up the Amber Heard. But to pull out a gun and shoot the guy, that's being a toddler. That's having a temper tantrum and being an irresponsible rat bastard of a human being without any sense of accountability. I admit I'm not the most successful human being on the planet, but I am not taking food stamps. I am not taking WIC. I am not taking assistance from family or otherwise. I am doing the struggle on my own. And every win I get is my win. I'm not going to post it on Facebook and take pictures of it as some grand whatever. That's mine. My choice to share it with you or not. One of my greatest accomplishments, I think, certainly within the last 10 or 15 years, is what I've done with this radio station. It took a lot of time and effort and concentration and study and a sense of responsibility. That's why on November 29th, 2021, 7 a.m., I became the Asylum. I just took this radio station and said, no, this still needs to exist. I don't know what form that's going to take, but this still needs to exist. And I was right. It's getting support. People are responding to it. I don't understand how those numbers are, where they were to see those numbers, and I don't want to. It might skew my ego. Suddenly I feel important on the morning show. No, most of the time it's conversations with people that are a hell of a lot smarter than I am, chipping away at issues. But this morning, no, this one got me. The lack of accountability in the parenting that has yielded parents financially supporting their children well into their 30s and 40s when they should have established a career or at least developed a marketable skill and put their pride in check. For example, there was a period during the pandemic, or first part of it, employment was a little scarce for cats like myself, and I spent a good 8 months washing dishes at a restaurant on Wrightsville Beach, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, to make damn sure my bills were paid. And I wasn't calling anybody going, can you help me out? I'm living in a tent. Give me money because I'm an irresponsible SOB. No. I said, you know what? When life sucks, you got to do the suck. You got to get down in it, do what's needed to be done, right? I mean, I hear parents, people with degrees that are doing part-time jobs, working job, whatever, because it's that's what's required, and the responsible people will rise to that level. They have to. The irresponsible people, the people who have no sense of accountability or pride within themselves and whatever level of success, no, they're going to blame it on everybody else. They're going to be standing on a street corner holding a cardboard sign. And in their entitlement, they expect everyone to just hand them money for free. Just hand them money. Guy come at me, I had the window open. Hey, you a little help? What, you do tricks? I give you $1, you do a backflip. 50 cents if you can do a cartwheel without bending your knees. Come on, man. Give me something. Right? I go to the movies, I pay $20 to see Tony Stark. What do you got? Huh? What you got? Do something. Roll over. I don't know. Do my dishes. Mow my lawn. Something. But standing here on the street corner is not worth a penny of my money for you. I am not going to underwrite your limitations or whatever it is that has put you where you are now. That's you. That's your thing. And if you are known, and this is going back to that toddler temper tantrum, if you are known for pulling your gun at stupid times and you find yourself at another stupid time and the police are like, oh, hey, we're going to arrest you and we are going to search for your gun because you have a history of being irresponsible with your firearm. It just does not bode well. So if you start with personal responsibility and accountability and a sense of pride, not the kind that's in the Bible, pride is the sin. No. Take a little pride that, I'm paying my food. I'm paying my bills. I'm taking care of me. I am not taking care of you because you are not my responsibility. You living in a tent is your responsibility, not mine. If you're having trouble meeting those responsibilities and you don't understand the disconnect, that's where people in the community, such as Thomas Dalton, Dr. Dalton, and the Eden Project, can help you get back together. Right? Maybe your parents didn't teach you about accountability. Maybe your teachers or your parents weren't big on responsibility. They just wanted to dote on the new family pet. So obviously you need to start over. You need to learn how to be a human being again. You need to learn how to wash your body. You need to learn how to do your laundry. You need to start over. And some of that might be mental. And probably, because if your parents have screwed you up that bad that you're 40 years old expecting people to hand you money because you're holding a cardboard sign, then yeah, your brain is obviously not hitting the top floor. And that's where the Eden Project, with its holistic approach, with direct care available on site, to help get you through this. So you can come to terms with the fact that you are not the most cool, famous, rich person on the planet. That you are indeed an irresponsible and broken adult as a result of a broken parenting. And now we need to re-educate you from the ground up on how to not be a jerk in public, how to not be a drunken idiot, deal with whatever it is that's causing you to be a shortcoming to your own self. Then you can succeed, whatever level of success that is. And if you want to talk about a hard time, you find a truly repentant felon released from prison trying to find a job. Because they know that, yeah, it would probably be faster and easier and something they know how to do to go back to crime. But they're trying to become responsible, accountable adults. And they know that, trying to get a job as a felon is going to be difficult. So the community has responded with other programs. I'm still on the fence about it. I haven't had full experiences either way. Some of the stories are good. Some of the stories are not so good. But the True Colors Brewery here in Wilmington is trying. At least they got a plan together. At least they're trying something. Even if it fails, they're doing more than the rest of us are. Same with Dr. Dalton's Eden Village. Even if it fails, he's doing a hell of a lot more than the rest of us are to address that issue. See how that works? But if the issue is that you are unable to pay your own bills or unwilling because mommy and daddy are doing it for you, you shouldn't be part of the conversation. You should just put the gun away, maybe read a book, learn how to do something useful that doesn't involve alcohol or drugs or being a misogynistic pig. I don't know. I mean, there's all kind of options. I admit I'm not the prettiest person. I'm not the best specimen of the species. But I'm still able to perform a function for which people find extremely valuable, and they pay me for it. That's fair. I'm not asking them to hand me money because I'm standing here in dirty jeans and brand new shoes. No, you see, this is a different mindset. All right. But the court system, the American system, justice system, our sense of whatever it is that set this ridiculousness up, apparently when you turn 18, you magically become an adult. Well, a junior adult. And then at 21, you magically become a real adult. Because now you can buy alcohol and guns. Unless, of course, mommy bought your gun for you. In which case, you can buy the ammunition all you want. No. That's this whole idea behind responsibility and accountability. It's a very soft, like, it's like software. You know, if it's hardware, you can adjust hardware, right? If you're sailing your boat and you're not quite catching enough wind, you can trim your sails and get going a little bit faster. Those adjustments can be made. But there's no hard and fast rule, right? You just sort of do it by feel and figure it out as you go along. Unfortunately, with responsibility, we don't have that because all the responsibility was alleviated. And now the child only has to do things like, "Oh, hi, Mom. I'm hungry. I'm short on rent. I got 3 bags of drugs, but I can't afford any food. I got beer, but I don't have any vegetables." We can do better. We just got to find some way to make that happen. How to make being successful, whether you're using your hands or your brain or your feet, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not big on the sports. I think that's like a loss. Don't even get me started. Professional sports just should not be any more a thing than YouTube influencer. But that's me. That's me. I think all that is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, baby. The Asylum is letting me know that I need to take a short break, catch my breath, maybe change subject. I don't know. We're going to take a look at some things here during the break. We'll be right back on The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Don't go nowhere.
Keeping Whiteville informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Well, hey, y'all, it's Holly Brewer.
And Amy Ludwig. And Kristen Ludwig.
From Just Think, the podcast. The podcast where we don't want to tell you what to think. We just challenge you to do it. We're happy to have some of our episodes featured right here on 106.7 The Big Talker on Saturdays at 11 a.m. So we hope you join us in the conversation and most importantly, just think.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A joint operation involving several law enforcement agencies led to the arrest of more than 24 people accused of stealing catalytic converters. Officers from New Hanover, Pender, and the Onslow counties and the FBI took part in the sting. Since the beginning of the year, Onslow County has seen a 107% increase in larcenies. Sheriffs from the 3 counties say they began working together after discovering they were searching for the same person, Emerson Jordan, who is believed to be the operation's ringleader. Deputies say they found almost 700 stolen catalytic converters. Now to an update on the Bladen County shooting this week that sent schools into lockdown. The shooting happened on Moultrie Lane in Elizabethtown around 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. Investigators now say later that evening a 15-year-old turned himself in and has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. The investigation is ongoing and additional charges are expected. Anyone with information about that shooting should call the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Wilmington police now believe a fire at a Family Dollar store last week may have been intentionally set. The Family Dollar on Wooster between 16th and 17th Streets caught fire on April 19th, and first responders on the scene said the flames quickly spread throughout the store. No one was hurt. Now investigators have reason to believe this may be a case of arson. And a brand new airline is coming to Wilmington International Airport, bringing more affordable flights from a relatively new company. ILM announcing Avelo Airlines will now service Wilmington. Fares start at $29, and the highest fare is $49. Destinations to New Haven, Connecticut, Baltimore, D.C., and Orlando will fly out of ILM 3 days a week beginning June 30th. Avelo is already taking reservations. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 AccuWeather forecast. We're going to have a nice end to the week for your Friday, but increasing clouds as the day goes on for a partly cloudy afternoon with highs in the lower to middle 70s. And then later on tonight, partly cloudy skies continuing, but comfortable lows in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees and showers increasing into Saturday and Sunday. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
The Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association serves as the advocate for the building industry, advancing professionalism and promoting community involvement. We are a positive force for responsible growth while protecting property rights and the privilege of home ownership. 3 out of every 5 jobs is touched in some manner by construction in our region. Growth generates jobs, maintains our property values, and builds and updates our infrastructure. Join us Friday mornings for the Construction Connection with the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association and the Big Talker FM.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Oh, my turn. That's right. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Here on the Big Talker Network. Rise and shine. It's Friday. I'm sure you're energized and ready to get the day rolling so you can get the weekend started. I'm with you. Oh, yeah. Have some fun this weekend. Get it out the system. Gotta love it. Yeah, a friend of mine was just giving me a little noise here on the side. Am I talking gun control? No. I'm kind of with the old saying, gun control means aiming or using both hands or whatever the joke is. I get that. And a lot of the gun control things in, whatever legislation or hurdles you have to clear when buying a gun are doing what they can. But I'm not talking gun control. What I'm talking about is responsibility of the people themselves to have the gun. For example, that 74-year-old Mr. Levine in Florida is probably, at 74, you would think, hey, magically he would be that strong guy, he's a 74-year-old toddler with a gun. Obviously, his aim is pretty good that he hit the guy in the ankle. I mean, that's not a very big target. It might have taken him, several shots to get there. What did he say, 4 or 5 shots? Five rounds. He shot him, got him, so obviously the gun control issue is not the issue. The guy had control of his gun. He didn't have control of himself. That's the problem. And we try to mitigate this, for example, when driving a car. Before we issue a license to a person, we do a check ride with them, basically. Right? Somebody from the state kind of says, all right, you did pretty good. You get an 85, which is enough to drive, and here are some things that you may want to work on. Parallel parking or turning less square, right? That was the only thing my instructor, or the check ride guys when you turn right, you tend to do it a little square. You don't have any lead in. Remember, your car tends to, more of an arc and less of an angle was sort of his thing. But I was not going to fail that test, only because as I was traveling, this is in Bernalillo County, New Mexico, a vast number of roads at that time were dirt roads. So much of my driving test was on regular street roads, it's on the freeway, and it's on these dirt roads. And he and I were in my mom's car, and we were traveling down a dirt road. Big car. It's one of those Monarchs, right? Remember the Mercury Monarch? I'm trying to remember the Ford Granada. Same car, just ugly as sin. Anyway, I have the right of way. I do not have a stop sign. The crossing street, which is also a dirt road, has a stop sign. However, the person running the stop sign didn't bother to apply their brakes. And I'm at full speed, 35 miles an hour, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I realize that if I hit my brakes on this dirt road, I am going to slide directly into this truck, and it's going to be ugly as sin. So Turbo janks the wheel a bit to the right to get his tires into the soft sand on the side of the road while applying the brakes, and not jamming the brakes just enough to initiate some friction, and the car comes to a stop well before we got to the intersection. Once the check rider driver guy picked up his pen and his clipboard from the front floorboard of the meticulously cleaned car, I was going into my drive. I was going into my check ride, right? I was going in well. I was dressed well. My car was clean. My mom's car was clean. And he was like, that was spectacular. Thank you. Good job. You're obviously a very aware driver. You are looking for things around you, not just what it is you're doing. Because I recognize this person was going to violate his obligations, which could impact me if I didn't think ahead. Now, I would have absolutely been in the right to get clobbered by that car. We would have probably gotten a new car. We would have probably gotten hurt. We would have probably gotten some money, whatever. But I felt, because I appreciate my own human condition, decided that it would be in the best interest of everybody involved if I were to avoid that scenario, that outcome. And I did everything that I knew at the time. And again, I'm 15, 16 years old, been through driving school, a very intense driving school, a very realistic and unapologetic driving school, so that I was equipped to respond appropriately. But we can't do that with, and now, okay, wait, I can't move. I can't leave yet. So that's for all the people that actually want to have a license. Now, there are a vast number of people, swaths of people. You can throw them into whatever demographic segregation you want. But the ones that don't get a license, they don't bother. Oh, I'm American, I'm entitled. I'm an American now, I'm entitled, I'll just drive the damn thing. So we have thousands upon thousands of unlicensed drivers right here. And if they're unlicensed, they're irresponsible. But if a person just climbs into a car, and this is all it takes, climbing into a car, turning the key, pushing the buttons, mashing the pedals, turning the wheel, you're driving. Magic. No training, no responsibility, no accounting, no oversight at all. Just all you need is a key and a car, and you can drive. The license is the responsible part. The license is being an adult. The license is being accountable. So unless you're Madison Cawthorn and have already lost your license, yet continue to drive, this is a reflection of his sense of personal responsibility and accounting. He has lost his license. He continues to drive. That is a toddler temper tantrum happening in real time. I know I lost my license, but screw you, I'm going to drive anyway. I have proven that I am irresponsible behind the wheel of a car, but I'm going to drive anyway because your opinion is irrelevant, even though you are the governing body for the very thing that I am doing. The NRA is not a governing body, by the way. I should just remind you of that. It's a political action committee. And for whatever other stuff they do not govern the way handguns are handled. They lobby for it, right? They make presentations and other things, and they have other involvements, but they are an organization independent of the government. Just like driving schools, they are independent. Car clubs are independent of the governing body that issues the licenses and holds the accountability for that. Right? So we have no accountability for the guns. Unless your name is on a piece of paper somewhere that says, yes, I own this gun. And I don't know the numbers, but I would bet that there are more unregistered firearms in this country than there are registered, accountable, and adult, maturely handled weapons and handgun firearms in this country. Guaranteed. And another reminder from a friend of mine is in my upbringing, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, there was a stigma that a gun was the tool of the criminal, unless you had a badge. Have we discovered criminality in people wearing the badge? Well, I think Anthony Spivey, the former police chief of the Chadbourn Police Department, can answer that one pretty easily, don't you think? Right? If you're not familiar with the story by now, because this guy really needs to be held accountable. He was the chief of police of Chadbourn, North Carolina, and had, in one case, sold the handgun used in a homicide while he was the police chief, which makes prosecuting a homicide way more difficult when your police chief has sold the very gun used in the homicide. So now it's an unregistered gun out there somewhere to be used in another murder. Who knows? Because nobody knows where it is or who's got it. He lost track of it. If it was nuclear, we'd call it a broken arrow, right? What would you call this? A broken lance? Or a broken bolt? That's what they call the little arrows that the small, what are those called? It's the bow with the trigger on it. I can't think of the name of it. Crossbow. It's just out there. We don't know. And the same thing with unregistered drivers. We don't know. And how about unregistered guns and people that have guns that don't register? Because all it takes is a gun and a few bullets and boom. You're a murderer. No accountability, no responsibility, nothing. So it's not gun control, it's gun access. It's gun education. Weapons and firearm responsibility, I guess, right? Because I know there's got to be a few million people in this country that have weapons and are responsible with them. These are the people that don't need to strap on 75 pounds of firepower to buy some Pringles at the convenience store. That's just a dude with a little penis trying to show off how big and tough he is. Again, irresponsibility and accountability, bad parenting. These types of responses have become normal in our world, and I reject that. And I think it should be and it's going to be difficult because, criminals don't really, well, the blue collar or white collar criminals might, but your Cadillac stealing thugs aren't going to be mingling with all the good law abiding citizens at the local coffee shop discussing the parking issues or school attendance. No. So it's really hard to, what's the word I'm looking for, police ourselves, that if we see somebody with a gun and we're like, my question is usually why? Oh, I like to go hunting. Cool. Got it. I even see that this guy's calendar, I'm sorry I'm not available. I'm going to be on a duck hunt with some friends. Cool. That makes sense. But if your part of your job is to carry around a lot of money, maybe you find another way to handle that. So you're not carrying a gun and a bunch of money. That way they steal your money and your gun. Right? I don't, there's so much about this that's going to be very difficult. It's going to be touchy. It's going to be explosive because everybody wants to be on the right side of it. Everybody should have a gun. Really? Would you give a gun to Amber Heard or Johnny Depp to run around in their house with just for fun? Would you give a gun to this, what was his name, Robert Levine, the 74-year-old man who shot the guy on the golf course? That's not gun control issue. That's gun access. That's gun stupid. And he's not even a criminal. Well, he is now. But he's not like, somebody who's been selling drugs and running drugs and made it to become the police chief of the town. Apparently, nobody was paying attention to this guy, and somehow he became the police chief of Chadbourn, North Carolina for a few years. And managed to make more money selling the evidence out of the evidence locker. Yes, the drugs, the guns, and anything else that they confiscated, Anthony felt was his to sell personally and make the money on, and I guess go on vacation to Loris, South Carolina. That was part of his story. Here's a guy, he fires a weapon, throws it in the truck, writes a note saying, it's all over, and sends a boat adrift out into the deal. So he borrowed somebody's truck, used the gun that was in the truck to fire around so that it looked like he shot something, and then he used a boat to make it look like, he was basically trying to stage a suicide scene. With the suicide note, the spent round that was still in the chamber, or, still in the breech, the spent casing, and the empty boat and all that stuff, when actually the little toddler had run away to Loris, South Carolina to Auntie's house so he could hide. Responsibility, good parenting, and good oversight. So Anthony had a badge and a gun and a salary from Chadbourn, North Carolina, and nobody thought to look into this before you hired the guy. Before my mom married my stepfather, who worked at the Sandia National Laboratories, they looked into who I am and who my friends were, and they said, yeah, he's a little warped, but he's not dangerous. Right? But in some cases, yeah, do you remember, what was it, Iron Man 3, when the weird dude from the cave comes and attacks Tony Stark at the car race? Is that what we're waiting for? And the thing is, we're an embarrassment to ourselves because we can't maintain this control, if you will, gun control. It's not that; it's the people control. The people need to be able to control themselves. There needs to, there's no way to, like with driving a car, there's no way to really assess your participants. in my case, going through the military school before we were, given the opportunity to do the shooting, we had to go through training. We had to go through testing. We were given a responsible approach to gun education, firearm education. We can't do that with everybody. We try to do that with driver's education. In fact, when I was a kid, driver's ed was not taught in school. You had to do it private, or once the child turned 16, he was able to take the check ride test, and if he passed that test, he was granted a license. That scared the hell out of me, because they were not exposed to what I was exposed to in my driving school. And a lot of it was traumatizing. Certainly for a 15-year-old kid whose biggest problem is trying to figure out how to get the zit off his chin. And now I'm seeing dead bodies by the dozens. And they walk through exactly what happened. And then you realize, I don't know if anybody's seen the orange juice movie, that as the orange juice seeps into the ground, the only way they could find the bodies from this accident was from the change in color from orange to red as the orange juice soaked into the ground. Horrible accident. Happened in, I want to say like 74, 73, 74. Bunch of kids. Bunch of people were killed, but a lot of them were kids. And the guy driving had his license for all of 3 months. So we try to introduce some responsibility into gun ownership. But if any toddler can wrap his hands around the grip and pull the trigger, we can only do so much. So the conversation needs to switch from the gun to access and responsibility, accountability. If you touch this gun, anything that happens to this gun until you release it is 100% on you, as Robert Levine is finding out in Florida. But that toddler temper tantrum is not related to age. Robert Levine over here, 74 years old, had a little tantrum, shot someone else for walking his dog in the evening, and then beat him to death with a club. So the gun wasn't the issue, obviously. The guy must have spent all 6 shells, and he was saying he's had 5. Well, I'm guessing he ran out of bullets, which is why he grabbed a golf club. So again, it wasn't the gun, it was the person. It wasn't gun control, it was person control. And we run into this more and more. Jackasses running down Highway 17 at 70 miles an hour, cutting in and out of traffic. Really? Same behavior, same mentality, same irresponsible nature. The same lack of accountability. And of course, those who would have the oversight are stretched too thin to call these less thans. So there's no other way to hold them account. We're just sort of in free fall. Back when the founding fathers were saying, hey, we have the freedom to own guns, most of the people were responsible adults. We didn't have a lot of, meth-dealing, gun-toting criminals. We didn't have a lot of cocaine trafficking or human trafficking, which is usually all protected by guns. Hell, we didn't even have a Secret Service to protect the president, because it was like, hey, the president's important. We all respect him. Nobody's going to shoot him. Yeah, we found out that changed, huh? So it's not the gun. Gun control is ridiculous. If you can aim a gun, if you can hold the gun, aim it, and shoot it, that's all the control. That's as far as the conversation of gun control can go. It's the access of guns to the people who should not have access to guns. That is the problem. And I get it. Most of the gun shops are very responsible. Here's your form. Fill it out. Here's your serial number. Now we know who has this gun, and anything that this gun is involved with is your responsibility from this point forward until you sell the gun and transfer all of that paperwork to another person. Unfortunately, legitimate gun sales is a portion of the actual gun trafficking going on throughout this country and probably the planet. Again, Anthony Spivey has shown us that nobody is above the temptation of making a quick buck as a criminal. Here he is wearing a badge, selling the gun used in a homicide to make a quick buck. And now that unregistered, unlicensed, and unaccounted for gun is out in the community, which could quite possibly be used in an armed robbery or another murder. But there's no accountability for it, except for the, couple $100 that Spivey put in his pocket to help him run Dolores, South Carolina. So it's accountability, it's responsibility. And from that, I think Jonathan Uskatiki is correct that it's the parents. We need to teach the parents. The moment your child gets in trouble, even if your child is 37 years old and carrying a gun and acting like a jerk, we should roll back up to your parents' house and say, look, you have created a problem. I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but damn it if it wouldn't be nice. Spank your child, for Christ's sake. It's what he needs. Make him understand that he is not that important to the rest of the world. He's just a little jackass. Sorry, this rant has really got me going, and the weekend hasn't even started. So, hang around. We got more of the Asylum. Don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A joint operation involving several law enforcement agencies led to the arrest of more than 24 people accused of stealing catalytic converters. Officers from New Hanover, Pender, and the Onslow counties and the FBI took part in the sting. Since the beginning of the year, Onslow County has seen a 107% increase in larcenies. Sheriffs from the three counties say they began working together after discovering they were searching for the same person, Emerson Jordan, who is believed to be the operation's ringleader. Deputies say they found almost 700 stolen catalytic converters. Now to an update on the Bladen County shooting this week that sent schools into lockdown. The shooting happened on Moultrie Lane in Elizabethtown around 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. Investigators now say later that evening a 15-year-old turned himself in and has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. The investigation is ongoing and additional charges are expected. Anyone with information about that shooting should call the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Wilmington police now believe a fire at a Family Dollar store last week may have been intentionally set. The Family Dollar on Wooster between 16th and 17th Streets caught fire on April 19th, and first responders on the scene said the flames quickly spread throughout the store. No one was hurt. Now investigators have reason to believe this may be a case of arson. And a brand new airline is coming to Wilmington International Airport, bringing more affordable flights from a relatively new company. ILM announcing Avelo Airlines will now service Wilmington. Fares start at $29, and the highest fare is $49. Destinations to New Haven, Connecticut, Baltimore, D.C., and Orlando will fly out of ILM 3 days a week beginning June 30th. Avelo is already taking reservations. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 accurate weather forecast. We're going to have a nice end to the week for your Friday, but increasing clouds as the day goes on for a partly cloudy afternoon with highs in the lower to middle 70s. And then later on tonight, partly cloudy skies continuing, but comfortable lows in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees and showers increasing into Saturday and Sunday. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gabe Frank of the Frank Institute, and I wanted to tell you about our IV vitamin, infusion, and hydration therapies. These IVs are the most effective treatment for vitamin and nutrition deficiencies available, and with our wide range of offering, your treatment can be tailored to your specific needs. Whether you struggle with hydration or nutritional deficiency, injury recovery, low energy, please feel free to check out our IV infusions today. Schedule an appointment at 910-679-8534 or check out all our treatment services at www.frankinstitute.com.
I'm K.O. Davis from K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree, and I want to be your tree man.
When your trees need cut, 2 letters to know. One is a K, the other is an OKO.
Tree man. Proper trimming is the most important thing that you can do, so don't just hire anybody to do it. You need someone that knows what they're doing.
KO.
Call the professionals at KO's Coast to Coast Tree and visit KOTrees.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Oh, yeah. The rant continues here on the Asylum. Your refuge in a world gone mad right here on the Big Talker Network. Available for Android and iOS devices. I highly recommend everybody run, not walk, to their app store and get the Big Talker app. That way you can have all of the Big Talker content available at your fingertips, audio and video included. Today's rant, we've been going off on gun access, gun control, gun responsibility, toddlers and children of all ages, even up into your octogenarian or, retirement ages. And a lot of that we find, or at least I have found, or opined, that is a failure of parenting. So, and we but we held up an example from Florida to basically point to and laugh at. I'm going to do Florida a solid. No, I'm not going to Disney World and spending $1,000 on a dumbass lightsaber. No. I'm going to refer to the story by Timothy Narosi out of Fox 35 in Orlando, Florida. Florida sheriff arrests his own daughter for meth trafficking. No one is immune or exempt, he says. East Point, Florida, a sheriff arrested his own daughter on drug charges as his department continues its war on addictive substances. Franklin County Sheriff A.J. Smith gave a statement on April 19 confirming that his daughter, Kristen Kent, had been arrested under suspicion of meth trafficking 2 days prior. Smith wrote on the office's Facebook page, "Methamphetamine does not discriminate, and neither do we. It does not matter who you are. No one is immune or exempt." The post goes on to say, "Our hearts break over the grief meth causes all, whether you use it, sell it, or love someone who is involved with it. If you want to break free of this lifestyle, we want to help you." The arrest is just the latest in the sheriff's long-standing war on drugs. Smith regularly updates his constituents on recent arrests and legal developments. Hundreds of people commented on the post announcing his family's situation, offering prayers and thanking him for the transparency. Smith's daughter is facing counts of methamphetamine traffic and cocaine possession, along with other charges. That's good parenting. Most people, because of the family bonds and family, the blood is thicker than water. No. If your child's a criminal, put him in jail. If that's what it takes to help correct your child's behavior or your bad parenting or whatever disconnect happened. A couple of the mental health experts and, workers licensed and with degrees, lots of letters after their name, seem to have a common thread that there is a parental oversight gap. Because think about it, when in this cycle, we have a range of things that happen. For example, the single mom who's a nightclub diva and is just cranking out babies one a year, right? They make some of those jokes legitimate. Then you got the other side, where mom and dad are trying to still be cool and live their own lives while having children. So sometimes the parenting became secondary or even tertiary to their own desires and dreams and goals. For example, trying to be a star or famous or known or political ambitions or, any number of things. that detracts them from being present in their children's lives. And maybe there was some of that disconnect with Sheriff Smith, that his own daughter was strayed to the point that being the daughter of a sheriff, thinking she's protected and immune, and she's daddy's little girl, right? Well, she was held to account, and the parent said, look, I'm responsible for this at some point, and I need to correct it. And it's gotten to the point that you need to go to prison. Sorry. I mean, I'll pay for your lawyer to make sure you don't get your rights completely trampled while in the trial, but I'm not going to protect you. I mean, some other parents are protecting their children from speeding tickets. We got others protecting them. You know, I know of one parent that was taking her daughter's tests just so she wouldn't fail. The daughter's still going to fail. It's just now you delayed that painful realization that you have failed the child. So Jonathan Uzcatequi's concept of teaching the parents is not so far-fetched if you think about it. I mean, every year, starting around November, you're going to start seeing Facebook posts about how a pet is for life. And you don't want to, give a pet as a Christmas gift amid all the chaos and then dispose of it a month later, or just let it out into the yard and not worry about it because it was a Christmas gift, and most kids are done with their Christmas gift by nightfall on the evening of Christmas. So I think maybe we take Jonathan Uzcatequi's idea and we expand it a little bit to not only be child, sex education, but child education. Maybe even parenting education. Maybe teach the kids how to be present in their parents' life. And, of course, teach the parents that their child's life is actually of greater importance than their own personal, right? I mean, I gave up everything to raise my kids. The fact that my wife was conducting herself in a way that was untoward, and of course that whole family, it's a different situation, yes, and it was painful, but during that time I was 100% on that job. If those kids had a question, I was right there. Anything I was into, they were into. Anything they were into, I was into. So I knew who they were, what they were doing. But if your son is running around with a gun and you're paying for his rent and he's in his 30s, this isn't helping. You have created a failure. You have failed as a parent. If your child takes a gun to school and shoots a bunch of people, you failed as a parent. If you drove your child to go shoot people, you have failed as a parent. Simple as that. Oh, man, for as painful and aggravating as that subject is, I don't see a resolution. Right? I mean, gun control is such a hot topic, and everybody else wants to blow up about it, and they're wanting to use segments of conversations and arguments to make their point and be right. Not at all being effective about the situation. I'm more concerned about the situation. What can we do to make sure that toddlers' temper tantrum doesn't involve a handgun or a knife or a golf club? That's the problem. We need to get people fixed in the brain so that they don't have this violent reactionary first line. We need to learn to talk to people again, right? So this activity with Robert Levine chasing the guy around the tree with a gun is the same crap that you can see on any toddler playground where they're fighting over a toy or a swing. And I've seen the same toddler tantrums happening right next to me, even on my own crew. And I'm like, no. Yeah, you may have been right, but you handled it wrong. You may have been in the right, but you handled it like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. As Bruce Lee said, if words can get you to act out, that means anybody and everybody can control you. Yes? And I think that's what's happening. A fun story on the other side of the equation. If you have parents that are very much involved in developing the child and developing their curiosity, you get a story like what Ben Hooper from the United Press is sending us. Young boy, 13 years old, set to graduate from University of Minnesota. And imagine, he did it without shooting anybody. Is this possible? Elliot Tanner of St. Louis Park is scheduled to graduate in May from the University of Minnesota with a major in physics and a minor in math. Huh? Come on now. Well, of course, this advertisement covers an entire section of it. I don't want to see it. I can't read it. Okay, screw you. Tanner said the next step in his education will be the school's doctoral physics program. The boy's mother, Michelle Tanner, said he taught himself to read at an age when most kids are still figuring out how to tie their shoes. He had started reading when he was maybe 2, just 3. We said, "Oh, well, that's interesting. You're reading. We didn't teach you to read." Maybe not. But I bet the mom's a reader. I bet the dad's a reader. And the kid was like, I wonder what this reading thing is about. Hey, this is pretty cool. The first books are pretty easy. You see Jane, you see Richard, you see them getting a pail of water. Hey, the story figures it out. You get the nouns, you get the verbs, you get all that. Hey, Tanner started reading college-level textbooks at the age of 9, and 2 years later he graduated from Normandale Community College with an Associate of Science degree. It's amazing. It's just sort of been a crazy ride getting here, but it's just been such a nice experience, Tanner said. He said he is hoping to earn his doctorate and give back to the university. I'm hoping to become a professor at the University of Minnesota in order to also spread this joy and passion for physics with other people. That's the result of some responsible parenting. Even if they weren't directly saying, here, read this book, here, learn this math problem, they encouraged his natural curiosity. And I doubt they ever pointed a gun at him. I doubt the parents ever robbed a bank. And already at 13, the boy's going to be making enough money to support himself so he's not begging on the street for panhandling. Or mommy and daddy paying for his rent into his 30s. This kid's getting a little ahead of the game. And I bet he can absolutely crush it at Pokemon. Right? Because Pokemon is all about numbers and math, whether you're playing the card game or the video game, the Game Boy game, whatever, Switch. There's a lot of math involved to really hit the high numbers and do the big things. It's all math. I had an argument with somebody just yesterday. Well, discussion, I guess. I want to say argument in the proper. He claimed that he had been through another day without using algebra once. Thank you, public schools. And I had to correct him. Yeah, a lot of people have made that statement. I don't do math on a daily basis. I don't know why they made me learn trigonometry. I don't need to use that stuff. They should have taught me other things. Well, granted, there should have been access to the education for other things like filing taxes and opening a business and how the government works in the 3 branches and what's in the Constitution and what is in the Declaration of Independence. Oh my God, what an idea. But a lot of this you kind of have to develop on your own out of curiosity, right? But my correction, if you drive a car, you do math. You may not recognize it as math because you're so hung up on the word. I'm terrible at math. Oh, math class was the worst. My math teacher was... It wasn't the math. Just like it wasn't the gun that killed the guy. It was the guy holding the gun that killed the guy. And he would have done it just like Levine. He would have done it with a golf club. He would have done it with a gun. He would have done it with... the guy's fighting over a mosquito. The guy just grabbed a piece of random wood. I think it was one of the slats from the bed. Started beating the other guy in the head until he grabbed an aluminum bat and started beating him back. So it's not the gun. It's the people. For Christ's sake. Let's get the conversation around the right topic. Let's start there. Goodness. Oh, man, that takes a lot out of you when you're just that upset. Certainly after such a recent experience. And the thing is, it doesn't become important. It won't matter to you until it's important to you. Meaning, another great example in Russia. There were some explosions in Russia, and the people in Russia are like, oh, my God! Right? Surprise! There's a war going on. People are suddenly surprised that it becomes important when their neighborhood gets bombed. Oh, they didn't care that it was Ukraine getting bombed. You can bomb Belarus. You can bomb Kharkiv to the ground. You can bomb Mariupol to the ground. We don't care. Oh, shit. They just bombed our street. Okay, now we're on. Now it's a problem. Now we're going to be like, why are you guys trying to hurt us? Oh. Yeah, so when it becomes real, I know there are a lot of crazy people around here that have no, sense of accountability, responsibility, that have guns, and could probably shoot me at any time. There are plenty of stories about that, whether it's in the high school or in the golf course, right? The public school or the private golf course. Whether you're a toddler, a teenager, or an octogenarian. The problem is not the guns or any of the weapons. It doesn't matter if it's a knife, a bat, a pen, a box cutter. So gun control is just a ridiculous idea to begin with. The control of the gun is called aiming. Access to the guns and the responsibility for that person to have access to the gun, that's the conversation, and that's where it's going to get difficult. Because under the Second Amendment, we are allowed to, we have the right to bear arms. The court system has in that time modified it that, for the most part, convicted felons cannot own a firearm. Interestingly, lots of rearrested, or what's the term when a criminal continues to regrace the legal system? How often are convicted felons arrested with a gun? So access to the gun for a convicted felon is not difficult. All they have to do is call Anthony Spivey, former police chief of Chadbourn, North Carolina. He's probably got one in the evidence locker used in a homicide, and he wants his buddy to get off on a murder charge. So if there's no gun to be used in evidence, well, they can't have a case, can they? So maybe one of our convicted felons in the North Carolina area is now in possession of this handgun that has no trace to it now. The last place it was known to be was in the evidence locker. Now it's been used in a homicide. Well, if it were to be used in a homicide and we identify it, then what? The accountability is already beyond control. We've already lost control of the accountability. That's where the gun control conversation belongs. Access, that's a different story. Because a lot of people who have guns are not mentally stable enough to really be trusted with a firearm. You can call that an opinion. I'll take it. But I'm seeing more and more stories of people who should not have a gun using their gun in the most irresponsible manner. Whether it's shooting some guy in the ankle for walking his dog or robbing a store or a bank. or even a couple who's in town on a touring, just a couple of tourists in town for a visit to see the sights and enjoy New York, and some jackass with a gun hijacks them, carjacks them, whatever, kills them both. The person, no sense of accountability, no sense of responsibility. On the other, and you still have the other group of people that all of their lifestyle is completely underwritten by their parents. So what money they make can go straight to drugs, guns, bullets, and booze. And that's what they're proud of. My gun's bigger than yours. I don't have a gun. I don't need one. There is no point in my life do I feel that I will be near a situation that I will need a gun. And if ever I do find myself in that situation where somebody is trying to rob me at gunpoint, let it be me. Let it be me that gets you put behind bars for the rest of your life so you can't hurt anyone else. So you cannot own a gun and see the light of day. A free day in sunlight, or whatever that phrase is. Because most of us, right? E pluribus unum, out of many one, united we fall. Or divided we fall. You can take me out. The rest of society is going to go on. But you're going to be taken out of society. Right? I mean, the Ukraine is finding it right now. The Ukrainian residents are showing us day-to-day action what it is to defend your freedom just by walking down the street and getting a slice of bread. They don't even have a gun. They're like, you know what? That's not the kind of power that I need in my life. If you need a gun to feel powerful in your life, you have failed. And your parents have failed you. Because obviously you are not confident in yourself that you need to impose your will on somebody else with a gun. And if you're relying on your parents to pay your day-to-day bills, your parents have failed you, and you yourself are a failure and not responsible or held accountable to yourself. And you should be ashamed. That's all there is to that. Because if you really wanted to achieve, if you really wanted to succeed, if you really wanted to be in a better place than you are now, you could have already been graduating from the university at age 13. But you didn't need to and didn't want to because you didn't have to. All your challenges had been vaporized and handled by your parents. So your rent, your food, your insurance, your car, your housing, everything's paid for by your parents. All you got to do is breathe. Right? In high school, there was a kid that I knew. His entire job, I mean, his parents pretty much gave him his own place, and they said, look, the only thing that we ask, we pay your food, we pay your car, we pay everything. Everything. All we ask is don't get arrested. Because it was more important to the family that their name and their facade to the public remain intact. So while their son was a complete moron and a waste, he was your basic wasteoid. And he's living better than you and I will ever know. And his only requirement is not get arrested. You can do all the other debaucherous stuff you want, just don't get arrested. Just don't get yourself put in the news. You can drink yourself to oblivion, we'll pay for it. You can wreck all the cars you want, just stay out of the news, stay out of jail. And that's probably the greatest failure right there. Because had that person been encouraged to develop their curiosity, and with the access that they had financially, they could have probably been on a team developing cancer to cure the cancer. But instead, since all of that challenge and all of that responsibility and accountability was wiped away from them, they don't get that. But they aren't challenged. They aren't rising above that challenge. That's what this 13-year-old boy did at age 2. He overcame the challenge of reading. He was curious, and that reading led to more reading and more curiosity. And his parents are like, we'll feed your curiosity all day long. And now he's 13 years old and probably making more money than they are. But no, we got kids out here 35 years old with their parents paying for them, and they think they're the king of the world and they know everything. Nope. I know it becomes more difficult to find gigs at that point. You know how I know? I've been there. And that's why I'm so good at washing dishes, that if ever I need to, I will do it again. So maybe we can raise the sense of responsibility rather than going after the guns and coming up with more money-making legislation and headaches. Get the hell out of the picture and start addressing the parents, start addressing the people. It's people control, personal control. Because if you have a gun and you need that to feel safe, you've already lost. You are already trapped in fear. And there's nothing anyone can do to help you. You got to do it yourself. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Yael. I'm a little late getting to your show. We will get right to it. Everybody should go to the Android store or the App Store for the iOS. Download the latest, coolest, updated version of the the Big Talker app for the Android iOS devices. The BigTalker.live, BigTalker.live website with everything you would ever want on it. Thank you so much for a wonderful week here at the Asylum. We love building a refuge in a world gone mad. And we will throw the doors wide open again on Monday at 8 a.m. Don't forget to tune in Sunday for Heard Tell. 8 a.m., 2 p.m. on Sunday. And, of course, all of our other wonderful programming available at your fingertips on the Big Talker app. We will see you all next week.
Keeping Wilmington informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach. Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Hello and welcome to Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting across North America and right there in your pocket. Plugged in your ears every single week. I'm one half of your host, Yael Osowski, broadcasting from the old Austrian Empire, Vienna, Austria, that is. And I'm joined by David Clement, who is in the old British North America. David, how goes it?
It's going well. It's going well. Lots to talk about. The Emergencies Act is back in discussion. In Canada, there's another... the Globe broke another story in regards to Trudeau and the RCMP. Elon Musk is buying/bought Twitter. It's been an eventful week.
I agree. A lot of stuff that's been happening. Very quickly, we'll plug an interview that we'll have coming on later in the show. We'll be speaking with Chris Becker of the Honeybee Collective, a Colorado-based employee-owned sustainable cannabis company. He gives us some perspectives on how cannabis legalization worked in Colorado, how it's rolling out, how it is to operate in the market, sort of positioning himself against some of the larger, more corporate cannabis players, and some thoughts on federal legalization in the United States. Awesome to be able to talk to someone. We probably don't agree on every issue, but at least on cannabis and whatever's happening now, really interesting to speak with Chris Becker. We'll have that on. We'll put that over there on our social media, consumerchoiceradio.com. All right, David, so I've been plugged up. I've been trying to work on this I got a mini PC with Linux. I've got a couple things running, all these computers. So I've been out of the loop here for about 3 hours. what has been going on with Elon, what's been going on with the tweeters. You are a correspondent who's been hanging out there for the good of the program. What's happening out there?